Sitting in Bars with Cake is now streaming on Prime Video. Trish Seed, the director, here to chat all about it. Thank you so much for your time today, and congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Based on Audrey Schulman's blog, and then it was a cookbook, and now screenplay, and now it's a movie. I mean, tell me a little bit about the story and actually working with her.
I love Audrey. She's an amazing writer. She's an amazing sort of human being. She did indeed live through this story about 10 years ago and blogged about it for fun. Couldn't believe it when she got a book deal, and then was like floored when they wanted to make a movie out of it. And she got to write it, which I love because she is a great writer. Interestingly, she was very able to keep her sort of objectivity and really treat it as if it was, a writing assignment. Like, she was able to sort of change details where they need to be changed, add characters, subtract scenes, rework things, take artistic liberties. She was so creative and practical about it. But also just, there's a different level of sort of get-itness with the person that was actually present through all of these experiences. And she was such a great source of wisdom and like insight to what it was like. I don't know that you could have ever done it with anybody else.
I just want to talk about Jane and Corinne and those characters here in a moment, but let's start with Bette Midler, because oftentimes you write a part like it's a Bette Midler type. How did she get involved in the movie? And tell me a little bit about that.
I mean, basically, we all were like, wouldn't it be amazing if it was Bette Midler? And you have these like crazy pipe dreams that you think will never come true. So we just like took a risk. I wrote her this crazy, honest, effusive letter where I was just like, here's the thing, I love you so much. And I told her how I kind of pictured the character. And we had a couple phone calls, and I couldn't believe that I was on the phone with Bette Midler and sort of pitching her this idea. And then she's like, you know what? All right. And we did it. She did it. I think she liked the character. I think she loves, movies about friendship, and she just thought it would be a fun time. And she was awesome.
I mean, speaking of friendship, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the characters of Jane and Corinne, because you always appreciate, and maybe sometimes not at the moment, but later on in life, of that person who maybe knows you better than you know yourself. And I just love this movie, and I love that friendship and that dynamic.
That's such a good way to put it, that sometimes people see in you something you don't see, or see a path for you that you are not ready to see yet. And I do think that's the role of a really good friend, to sort of push you a little bit, not drag you necessarily. We all have to get where we have to get on our own, but it is true that like a good friend really helps you find your way. And I love that about these friends. And I love that they're able to give each other that. It's not one-sided. I mean, there are days when one of them is giving and giving and the other is not. But overall, their friendship feels to me really balanced. Like I understand what each of them is there for, and what they get from the other, and what this relationship gives them. And I just think that's important. I mean, I think a lot of people have friends that remind them of either Jane or Corinne, and a friendship that sort of feels like that. And it's nice to just try to show it, try to celebrate it.
And years later, you can still call that person on the phone when you're having doubts or you're going through something, and they're like, they know you better, and they're like, here's what you got to do.
Exactly. They'll just be straight with you, and there's sort of no drama. It's someone who just knows you and loves you and accepts you. And you're right, you can go years without talking to them, and you'll pick up right where you left off.
Yara and Odessa, who got cast first? Tell me a little bit about the chemistry that they had together, and maybe leading up to the roles in this film.
We cast Yara first because I've been dying to work with Yara ever since she was a little girl. I know her family well. Her dad and I used to shoot commercials together. He's a cinematographer. So I adore Yara, and I've seen her grow up as an actor and a woman. She's just so smart, so sort of grounded and sophisticated. She's so nuanced, and just such a sort of like old soul sort of. And I just knew I wanted to work with her from day one. And actually I sent her the script and said, I didn't want to sometimes actors want to play into their own type or against type. I said, pick a role. Like, who do you want to be? And she just really related to Jane. And I could see that. I mean, she feels so right for that character. And then we set about together, because she's a producer on the movie, we set about finding the right Corinne. And we read so many talented actors. There were so many great performances in the auditions and the chemistry process. But when Odessa came in and read, and these two had known each other for years, so that helped. They just are such like instant, like you were just saying, when there are certain people that like, no matter what the situation is, when you get in a room together, there's just this kind of instant rhythm and back and forth. And they just had that. They just had it from the first minute they saw each other. So that was it.
That was it. Let's talk a little bit about the cake.
Okay.
I do want to ask, because I'd heard that there was over 100 cakes that were made in the whole process, as far as like the trials, the filming, and everything. Which one was like, when you yelled cut, was everybody like, all right, or at the end of the day, we're like, we got to dig into this particular one?
I mean, pretty much all of them, I will say. But I think probably the crowd favorite of all the cakes was the chocolate raspberry tort. It was the one we were in a bar in Echo Park, and it's where the guy comes up and is like, "Do you guys just bring cakes into bars?" And you can see the dollops of chocolate frosting. You can see the fresh raspberries. You can see the layers of chocolate cake. And I think just the fact that you could see everything that was in the cake made it irresistible. People's mouths were physically, observably watering as we were trying to shoot this scene. And people dove upon those cakes, man. Like, it was pretty intense after that.
Yeah, you hear about people wanting to, take an, a piece of clothing or a prop or something for a movie. I'm sure this is the one where they're like, keep all that. We want the cake.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
I do want to talk a little bit about OK Go, because here it goes again. They're a Chicago band. It was such a cool experience to see, especially a band that I followed so much growing up, that like they went viral with that. Tell me a little bit about being part of that video experience.
I mean, I grew up with those guys. My brother is the lead singer in OK Go, and we all went to band camp together when we were kids. So, not all of us, some of us in the band. So these guys are like brothers, all of them to me, and we have spent our entire lives making like goofy videos together using a giant, VCR camcorder back in the 80s. So it just felt like a natural evolution for us to start making dance videos. And then when we ran out of dance ideas, start bringing them to treadmills and dogs and plate glass tables and airplanes that that fly in parabolic, shapes that simulate zero gravity. Like, we just kind of kept getting wilder and wilder because we're just used to making stuff with each other. So yeah, it was a great creative playground for me to just take a camera into all these crazy situations, choreograph with my brother and his friends.
It was amazing, and I went back and watched it. Now these songs can't get out of my head. I was like, I got to go back and listen, because
they're really catchy songs.
Band.
They're really catchy songs. They're an excellent band. Yeah.
And then final thing here, as far as the shooting locations, talking a little bit about going to all the different neighborhoods in and around LA, and the vibe that each one had, and probably the cake that went associated with each of the spots.
That was such a fun part of doing this, was, not having to fake this in another city, not having to build bars on sound stages, actually going around Los Angeles, seeing the different neighborhoods, the different bars. Everyone has its own sort of obviously vibe and feel to it. And then, yeah, coordinating with Megan and the art department on sort of what cake would both fit in this environment, but also pop and kind of draw attention to itself. So it was really, really, really fun to just sort of like go around, scouting around town. We would just all get in a van and drive around and look at bars. And it was really fun. And a lot of them we all know because we all live here, but a lot of them it was like, I never knew this was here. And everybody was sort of rooting for the bars in their own neighborhood, which was also fun. I'm on the East Side, so a lot of East Side bars ended up winning. But it was a great time. Really, really fun.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations. Such a wonderful movie with such a powerful message about friendship, about life, about the people that guide you through this crazy journey. Sitting in Bars with Cake, now streaming on Prime Video. Thank you, Trish.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you.